We are live for episode number 78 of the Before the Trainwreck series, the only show on the internet that shows you how to avoid making a train wreck out of your life as a dude. Well, we're a few episodes in. I'm joined tonight by my good friend Paul Benjamin. What's up, brother?
What's up, man?
So tonight's show is on alpha widows. We're going to get right into this because I'm hoping we can pound out a ton of useful information for you guys in the next hour. So let's start with the question, what is an alpha widow? And I think the easiest way to define this, I did a video in the last couple of weeks, so I'll use that example. Had this coaching client, very successful entrepreneur, was dating this professional. I believe she was a doctor or a surgeon or something like this. Very high level sort of chick, right? Very, very pleased with his acquisition. This guy was, and he was basically pining for her to be, his girlfriend. So after dating for about a month, month and change, he initiated the "Where do we stand?" talk, which, by the way, guys, I'm vehemently opposed to. This is something that women should be bringing to the table to you. But anyway, he started the "Where do we stand?" talk, and she capitulated and said, "Yes, okay, we're in a relationship." Only his spidey senses were tingling. He figured something was up because of the way she was behaving, the way she was talking about past relationships. So the guy goes to her computer while she's showering one morning, logs in, checks the emails, and sees an exchange in a DM or an email or something like that. I can't remember what it was, but there's an exchange in messages between her, his new girlfriend, and some other dude about a week after she said he was, in a relationship with this chick. And basically she's pining for this guy. Why can't we be together? We should try again. There's nobody else I want to be with. We'd have beautiful children together. Like, this is all shit that like crushed them, right? So this is the very definition of an alpha widow. This is a woman that's physically moved on, put some distance between her and another guy, but she hasn't removed him from her heart. This is problematic for men. And it's problematic for a whole bunch of reasons, primarily because you don't get to be her first choice. You're often her second or third choice. Most guys that settle down and get married, believe it or not, end up being her second or third choice. They're not her first choice. Paul, what's your definition of an alpha widow? Is there anything more to cover aside from that?
Not really. I mean, that pretty much covers it. So the alpha widow is somebody in her past that is her sexual best or best genetic option.
Yeah.
Because of hypergamy, she always needs to know that she's having the best. And that means the best available to her today, but also means the best that she's ever had. The problem is if she's experienced something in her past that's better, and I'm not talking about like singular traits, like, well, this guy was 2 inches taller than this guy, so obviously the other guy's better. It's not a singular trait, but it's in the totality of 5 categories. This is how I look at it. This is not something I came up with, but there was a counselor in the 80s that came up there. She observed, she wasn't red pilled or anything like that, but she observed that women seem to make sexual decisions along 5 different categories that sometimes compete with each other. And those 5 categories were sexual desire, emotional draw, not his emotions for her, but her draw to him, meaning he's alpha and she draws to him. Third was security, which could be divided by protection and resources. And fourth was paternity, the ability to be a good dad. And then fifth was legacy, which is kind of like loyalty, but basically, is he going to discard her as she ages? Now, depending on where she is along her timeline of life, 1 or 2 of those categories is going to be in the forefront. Human beings in general, we have trouble focusing on more than 1 or 2 things at once. Well, they got 5 working now in their hindbrain, and they don't even know they're necessarily at work. So what ends up happening a lot of times is women, they go through their party years they're seeking sex and the sexual experience and sometimes that emotional draw. And then they look at their behavior. They look at the fact they've been kicked around by alphas. They've not been able to make relationships work. And they're looking at the impending age of 30, and the wall that's going to happen after that. And if they want kids and they want provisions and they want that life, they have to settle down. So what ends up happening is he a good dad? Can he provide resources and security for me? Is he loyal? Is he going to discard me, which is that legacy category? Those things start to come to the forebrain, and she starts vetting guys out for that. But the problem was her sexual best was maybe when she was in college or when she was on spring break or that fling she had with that guy for a summer. And so women are often compromising their sexual desire and needs for these resources. This is what introduces the idea in evolutionary psychology of strategic pluralism, or as Rollo Tomasi might say, alpha seed beta need, right? And so strategic pluralism is because most women cannot find a man that satisfies all those categories, that is her best sex, the best physical desire, the best genetic option, plus is willing to provision for her, be loyal, and raise kids with her. She can't meet a guy to meet all that stuff, so she has to compromise. The problem is when she compromises, she's always looking backwards or looking outward. And being alpha widowed is looking backwards at that guy that provided that sexual experience for her. That was a peak experience for her. She'll always look backwards at that guy. Eventually she will, she'll resent the guy she's with for not being that guy, of her past. And so
I can always tell when a chick's been alpha widowed in a marriage or a long-term relationship because she's always comparing her current husband or boyfriend or partner, whatever you want to call him at the time, to somebody else. It's like, why can't you pick up your socks like Jamie does over there? You leave your socks everywhere, but Jamie doesn't do it. Why can't you be more like Jamie, sort of thing? And it's like, Jamie's not even the dude that she's alpha widowed by. It's just some other guy that's in the social circle that happens to be better at something that you're not good at. But I mean, she's always going to chirp you, right?
Well, yeah, and that's the thing. If she's had someone better in her past, then it stands to reason that there's somebody better that maybe she could get in her future, right? And so she's more likely to look outward for replacements, even with a new guy, if she's pining for a dude in the past, or if she's had a better sexual experience with those guys in the past. And the sexual experience is the hardest one to replace, though. Like you can start off with average resources and over a period of a relationship, let's say 5-year plan, have amazing resources and provide even more security for a girl, right? You can learn to be a better dad. You can be loyal to a girl. I mean, these are, and have that legacy for her. So we can achieve those other categories, but having that alpha presence where she emotionally draws towards you and being her utmost of sexual desire, that's a bit harder just to contrive. I mean, we can get better sexual skills and stuff like that, but there's a point where it's really biological chemical and you kind of have it or you don't. And so as men, what you have to do is you have to make sure you're vetting out. If she doesn't see you as her sexual best after a point, I mean, of course, the first date, maybe not, right? But if you're in the plate spinning or dating phase and she doesn't see you as that after a while, do not get in a commitment with this person, because she's only going to resent you, and it's going to turn into that transactional relationship where she tries to beta-tize you and she resents you, and it's just not going to be good. Don't let her make that compromise at your
I was just
expense.
thinking as you were kind of driving through all those points there, we already know that women initiate something like 7 or 8 out of 10 divorces, right? They're the filer, they're the instigator of the breakup. And I often wonder now, because of films like Eat, Pray, Love and stuff like that, and we've talked about stuff like that before, where women think that the grass is greener on the other side of the fence, so they go and leave their husband and the kids, and they go either touring around the world. They think that they're going to get a better deal than what they have right now. And I wonder how many of these women are alpha widows that are like still holding on to some guy from the past, whether they might have thought he was a sexual best or a better guy overall than what she's got right now, and encourages the instigation of the divorce proceedings. And it's also the same thing with breakups too, because women break up with guys more often than guys break up with women as well. So there's a whole bunch of little contingencies within that. So how can guys spot, I mean, should we move on to the next question? So how can guys spot an alpha widow?
Yeah, so I mean, it's she's pining for somebody pretty much, and it also shows up on how she's making this guy your current, so she's dating you, is she making you qualify to her, or is she qualifying to you? Is she trying to earn you after a point, or is she trying to get you to, is she showing up a bit entitled and trying to get you to earn her? And a lot of guys fall into that, you know, that paradigm of trying to earn a chick. You know, that's what they try to do. They try to, you know, I'm going to do things for her. I'm going to buy her nice things, take her nice
over the heart of
places.
my lady.
Right. They try to win over this woman. And if she's, you know, making you wait for sex, for example, like a lot of these things are good signs. But you, with social media nowadays, you can look at that as evidence. It's pretty good evidence, because she will keep photos around, she will keep relationships going, and you'll see that stuff show up on social media with these exes. And I just
did the example of that post that you put in the community a couple of weeks ago. Can you just kind of break it down? Because I also responded to that as well with a bunch of the other guys. You want to deal with that?
Yeah, I don't know which one we're talking. which
I mean,
one?
like we were talking about the one where there was photographs of some exes, and like, how would you handle it?
Oh yeah, yeah, yep. Yeah. So I mean, so it's interesting because I need to back this up even a little bit. For guys, need to understand that women are deceptive by nature.
No,
so, I know it's crazy.
No,
it's crazy. But
wait, let me get a pen. Let me write this down.
Wait,
women are deceptive by nature. Write that shit down.
Not, believe it or not, they're deceptive by nature. And this is not just like, oh, you're just being negative on women. No. Okay. As a man, my nature is to use aggression, violence, and anger at certain points to get things done. I don't do that though, because we have a set of societal rules, and I have a forebrain and a frontal lobe that dictates my behavior. But men will use aggression, intimidation, right? That's something that we are wired to do. Mm-hmm. Well, women, being the weaker sex, physically weaker, can't use that kind of intimidation usually, so they evolve to use deception, manipulation. They're wired to lie. The studies have been done, and attraction studies have shown that women by and large lie even to themselves about what attracts them to someone, which is why generally it's bad to get advice from women on relationships and attraction, because they're going to tell you a set of things that they think they like, but really they're responding to a whole different set of things. They don't actually know, and they're deceptive to themselves. And it makes sense. I mean, I'm not, again, it's not trying to be just crap all over women, but think about it. Even like in Afghanistan today, if a woman was honest about her sexual desires and proclivities, she'd get stoned to death. She'd be killed. She'd have acid thrown on her face, right? So being the weaker sex, they've had to use deception.
It's part of survival.
You know, it's part of survival. So we can't get mad about it, but you have to recognize what it is. And so they're going to hold on to these sexual experiences and these people of their past until somebody comes in and basically replaces all of that. You know, her right. So her hypergamous mind requires the best for her to have the best. If you're her best and you come along, these other things of her past won't even be a thought anymore. So when that ex-boyfriend that was her sexual best at one point, who, you know, he contacts her maybe every year to see what she's up to and all that, and she doesn't respond to that message and forgets.
That message usually WYD.
What you doing?
What you doing? Yeah.
What you doing? You know, but it could be like, you know, but it's just like, hey, what you been up to? I haven't talked to you in a while. All that crap, right? It's like, if you guys ever really hung out platonically, let's be real. You know what I mean? And so, you know, and guys will do that when they're in relationships with women, right? I mean, guys do stuff like that all the time. And so, you know, if she forgets to respond to that dude and goes, oh my, you know what? This dude, I didn't even respond to that guy because she totally forgot because she's with you. That's a good sign, right? That means you just replaced all that stuff. But if she is making sure that she is really keeping up on these relationships, and you know, and she's not keeping a healthy boundary, like, oh, well, we're just friends, we're gonna hang out, you know what I mean, that kind of stuff. And then
did you ever hear that one liner, like, nobody fucks more friends or sorry, nobody fucks more girlfriends and wives than just a friend?
So
Trust me.
true.
Shout
Well,
out to John from Modern Life Dating, by the way. He's in the
hey,
chat.
what's up,
And
John?
also to new channel member Matthew Clements. That join button over by the subscribe button, if you're on YouTube, it just lets you into the live chat. I also sort and organize comments on all my videos, and I respond to channel members all the time too. So sorry, Paul, carry on.
No, all right. And so this introduces this idea too. I just did a video on this, and I'll summarize some of the key points here because it's important.
Yeah.
And we don't talk about this actually much, and we should. Just like jealousy, we had that video on jealousy. You guys need to go back and watch the thing on jealousy too. This all ties together, you know. But I'm talking about cucking. All right. So you got traditional cuckoldry is where a woman has sex with another guy, gets pregnant by that guy, then has her relationship guy take care of the baby. Well, that's
Right.
strategic pluralism in a sense, you know, and
deception baked into it just in the side there.
Right. And so that, I mean, that has a name for it in evolutionary psych and has been studied in the animal kingdom as well as with humans for a reason, because it is a part of our DNA. It's part of her DNA to do that. So that level of deception to go get pregnant, you know, in fact, her body is designed, in fact, to deceive you. Where like chimpanzees, when they're in estrus, their, you know, genitals swell, and, you know, the other chimpanzees know that
It's
she's
obvious.
ovulating.
With women, you can only tell if you're really good, right? You know, you look for the makeup cues. You know, she's got the giant hoopity hoop earrings, right? That's when you can tell.
The bigger the hoop. So
the bigger the
hoop. And so, yeah. And so, you know, we can sort of tell, but Rick, her is not overtly obvious that she's ovulating.
Right.
There's a reason for that, because her body's even designed for her to be deceptive and to conceal those things. And again, there were survival reasons for that. Survival reasons for babies, like infanticide and stuff like that's it was a real issue. So, you know, she's designed to be deceptive. And here's where cucking. So cucking is more of a modern term based off of cuckoldry, but it's basically where she fantasizes about another guy or acts on that fantasy. So actually has sexual, you know, stuff with that guy. But it's not just about the sex with that guy. It's about the degradation of her current partner. So she's degrading that partner. She gets off more. She gets more aroused and excited because of the deception, and because it degrades that other man. Now,
have you ever had a chick dropped off at your house from the date that she was already like the date that she's on? Yes. Yeah, of course. So any guy that's out there that's been in this hot seat would know this as well, what it's like when a chick arrives at your house. When she's on a date with another guy, she doesn't sleep with him. She doesn't do anything with him, but use him for his time or his attention or for dinner or something like that. Sometimes he's a sugar daddy, but he'll drop her off at your house. Like this is the exact example that I wanted to illustrate here for that. Yeah.
So we want to talk practical examples. I'll get into my embarrassing history as a Chad who didn't care long time ago. Right. I didn't care for a while. I didn't care about, like, I'd bang married women. I'd bang women who are in relationships, didn't give a crap. I don't recommend that route, but I did that route for a while. And these women are just ruthless, and they enjoy like degrading their partners. They would degrade their partners to me, you know, while I'm having sex with them. There were times that a guy, all right, this is a little embarrassing, but I don't care. We're going to say it, and people are going to watch your show and hit likes. So I've had, I've had in a sexual situation, the boyfriend call me, take the phone, hit answer, grab her hair, make her talk to the boyfriend while I was doing stuff to her, we'll say, right? Guess how hard those orgasms were. Yeah. Real hard. Okay. So it's and now of course the residual effects, it's like in long-term relationships.
Well, now you have to deal with the fact that you've alpha widowed this chick.
Oh no, like this is terrible. Like in hindsight, I'm like, man, this is really bad, right? But this is her choice. It wasn't me doing it. It would be, it wasn't me, Chad, doing it. It's Tyrone
but I mean, this is the same good girl that you guys will meet on a dating app next week and be like, wow, she seems really swell. You know, she's a really kind person. Right. Yeah. The same chick Paul was with, you know.
I was just with her and she was answering the phone. She was texting you all there together. No, but yeah. And so when you see that, you experience that, you're like, where is this coming from? It's a primal thing.
Yeah.
So here's Yeah, and so here's where it comes from. She needs a guy that she wants, that genetically superior guy. Well, when she settles for someone else, she doesn't know she's always settling, because women don't think about their decisions. They don't. They're just reacting emotionally into hindbrain drives. So
Wait,
when
aren't
those
women rational, Paul?
That's
sarcasm, by the way.
I'm waiting for the Rational Woman book
Yeah.
to come out, But yeah, so no, when it comes to sexual decisions, no, they're complete idiots. And I'm sorry, it's true. And women watching this, just recognize that that's true, and then you can work with it. You know what I mean? If you try to fight it, it's just a mess. So anyway, they end up in the honeymoon phase. They have all the happy chemicals, and they're really living off of hope. I mean, if you cornered them and were like, is the sex with, Billy here that you're with really as good as it was with Tyrone 5 years ago? She's going to be like, well, no, not really. But, then she'll rationalize it. But it's not everything. And he's a good guy. Like, she'll rationalize it during the honeymoon phase. And really, she hopes that little Billy will be a Tyrone in 6 months to a year. Maybe she can train him or whatever. Women they make that compromise.
Let me ask you this question. How many times do you get an email or a DM or a comment from a woman saying something along the lines of, how do I make my boyfriend more alpha?
Yeah, all the time.
Right?
All the
Happens
time.
all the time.
And they want to send their guy to coaching for me, all that stuff.
Yep.
Absolutely. And that's cool. I mean, actually, that's fine. But
the best is, I want him to become more alpha, but not so alpha that he realizes that his value is higher than me. So I don't want him to learn too much.
Right. Yeah. Let's not get him too, yeah. Exactly.
Let's not get him right off the plantation. Let's just partially take him off the plantation.
Right. Still need him to plow horse for me. I just need to let me go for girls' night out once a month. Is that cool?
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And so, I mean, it's, my train of thought, but I mean, once that honeymoon phase wears off, they resent that guy. See, that women don't just, they're not just unattracted to betas. They
loathe them, but
hate them.
Hate
them because that represents, if they accidentally have a baby with this guy, right? That represents a drain on resources for the tribe in primal times. Okay.
Well, there's also that sexy sons theory too, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's why there's women that will go for the alpha seed and then cut the guy and turn him into beta and knee. There's so many single mom. I mean, my entire Twitter feed could basically be distilled down to snapshots of Bumble and Twitter pictures guys send me in my DMs to post on there of like pregnant single mommies that are 23 with 6 kids already, like, looking for some guy to raise the other dude's brew of children.
Yep. Yeah.
I want to.
Okay.
Sorry, man. I just want to take this back to a couple of questions that I'm missing here in the chat flow. Matt Clements says, won't all women with high SMVs eventually become an alpha widow unless they LTR marry the alpha?
Okay. So Matt, so Matt, every woman is alpha widowed as soon as she has sex with somebody. All right. It's the alpha widowing means that somebody was her sexual best. So if she's had sex one time, then that guy is her, apex alpha until the next. It's like the movie Highlander, someone has to cut that guy's head off, figuratively speaking, and suck his power away. So like the next guy, maybe the next sexual partner isn't as impacting as her first love. Maybe the next one's not as impacting as her first love, right? But maybe the fourth one is more impacting on her sexually and emotionally than her first love was. Well, now that fourth guy, he becomes now the apex alpha. And so she's alpha widowed. Any woman, regardless of her SMV, is alpha widowed by somebody if she's ever had sexual intercourse.
Every woman has an alpha from her past, guaranteed. So you just have to out Chad her past, which is hard to do because women have like a large notch count these days, and it's pretty hard to decipher. So I mean, if you get with a chick that's been with 50, 100 guys, chances are she's been alpha widowed a few times over.
Yeah. Well, and that's why that, we talked about it, in different Rule 0, we talked about it, but why frame control is so important. And we're in a global sexual marketplace where women are having enough notches now by the time they're 30 years old, where they would have been unmarriable in every society 60, 70 years ago. So we're not biologically wired to handle it. That's why jealousy drives are in overdrive. There's a lot of things going on. But guys just get despair and they ignore it and they just pretend like it doesn't exist and they become more blue pilled. They do all these things to try to adapt to the reality that they're probably not the best for their girl. Instead of going, okay, I'm not going to accept somebody in a relationship unless I know I'm her best. And her behavior demonstrates that. And her behavior demonstrates that before I lock myself into a commitment with her. You never give away your sexual strategy, which is to be able to have sex with multiple women anytime you want without any rules. Okay. You never give that away for a woman who doesn't see you as her apex. Never do it, because you will never be able to have, it's hard enough to have a happy relationship to begin with, even when you are her apex, just the way the sexual marketplace is nowadays. So you have zero hope if you're not her best. If you're her second or third choice, really stop. Just stop it. Don't do it. You know?
So genuine burning desire is something that I often talk about. I've heard some other people start to use that in their broadcasts, and I'll define it for you in this broadcast because it's important to know what a chick looks like that has genuine interest in you. Let's say that you're dating, you've met her on a dating app. She's going to message you first. She's going to ask you questions. She'll be interested in you. What do you do for a living? Where do you live? What do you like to do for fun? That's a nice dog. What breed is it? Blah, 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 blah. She's going to text you in a timely fashion. You say, hey, what's up? She's back at you right away. She's not making you wait a day. When it comes to the date, she shows up all dressed up with her hair done and makeup and high heels and everything's done. She's dressed to the nines. She's pleasant. She's attentive. She's leaning in. You know, she's obviously looking for more. She's asking questions like, when am I going to see you again? She's going to be intimate with you. She's going to be, how can I put this? Let's just say aggressive when she's intimate with you. And your guys are going to have a great time together. It's going to be like taking a frying pan in the forehead. You're going to know it when a chick digs your vibe. If those things are absent, or if some of those things are absent, meaning if you send a text and she doesn't get back to you till like a day later, or she's not particularly interested in setting up a date, or she's busy and she tries to reschedule, chances are she's spinning plates. She's probably talking to other dudes. She's selling you some purity story about what a great chick she is, that she's going to make you wait. But if things are absent from her level of interest in you, you're probably not her sexual best. You're probably not, you know, the guy that she's pining for, right? It's going to be some other guy. So that's why you spin plates as a guy. That's why you date multiple women on a simultaneous basis, non-monogamously, until the cream rises to the top. Because the cream will rise to the top and it will become obvious to you, like taking a frying pan to the forehead, on who's interested in you on a deep level, not just, you know, a shallow level, or this guy's just good enough for me right now sort of thing. Women hit the epiphany phase, you know, late 20s, early 30s. They start counting their eggs drying up and like, I got to find some guy right now because all my friends are getting locked down, and they're like freaking out and shit, like Googling stuff like what the rates are of Down syndrome at the age of 34 when her birthday is in next month, and she's looking up all this shit and talking with her girlfriend, smashing back wine. Okay. I'm telling you guys, you have to be aware of these things so you don't make a train wreck out of your life.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You know, and it's what was I going to say? I'll get into. So one thing I want to mention,
you know what,
too,
hold on to that thought.
Yeah. Sorry.
Hold on to that, because we were talking 10 minutes ago about that post that ended up in the community about finding those pictures on her social feed.
That's what I was going to get into. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So let's talk about that. So this will come up with just about every guy you're dating. And then you realize that there's a guy in her social feed, whether it's on Facebook or Instagram, that she's got pictures with from her past, who may have been somebody that alpha widowed her, for example. You're obviously not going to approach it from a jealous rage, like delete that stuff right now because I said so, because I'm the man. How should guys handle stuff like that, Paul? Like, what's your view on that?
Yeah, so this is good. This is a really good one, because what guys, if she's in, is this even true? Like, if are her apex alpha, which you won't, you always want to be that, you think you're that, but you know, it's hard to know, especially in the beginning, like right off. But when you approach it, if she's in your frame and you give too much credibility to men in her sexual past, that will cause her, because she's going to follow your lead, to wonder and think if these men are actually better than you. If you come across as threatened by men in her past, then she's going to have to, she causes her, which she wasn't thinking about it at all because she's having these awesome sexual experiences with you, and hypergamy causes her to lean towards you as her best. And she's not even thinking about 5 years ago guy that she banged that summer or whatever. But when you make an issue out of it and it comes across like you're threatened, now it causes her to have to think about her sexual experiences with that guy. And then she has to wonder and start asking herself these questions. Well, is this guy better than the guy I'm with because he seems threatened by it, you know? And so it actually pushes them into thinking other men are better. You don't want to do that. At the same time, though, you need to compliance test it, because if she's pining for a guy in her past, she'll do it and she'll never tell you about it. And you'll find out later. I mean, women are so deceptive about these things. And so you'll find out after you're completely invested and living together and you have 2 children or whatever, right? You don't want that. And so a lot of times what happens is women, when they're not in a new relationship that's exceeded some of these things, or that blew any of these things out of the water, or when they get into these like little relationships, those guys don't really have frame. So she leaves the old photos up and the old couples photos with her and some other guy from 5 years ago. She never cleans her photos out. She just leaves that stuff there, lets it linger. Now you'll notice though, she doesn't have photos of ugly guys or guys that she didn't, that isn't a point of validation for her. You'll notice in her social media, I mean, go through it, you know, look at these girls. Do they have, oh, that ugly guy that I slept with for a couple weeks and had a few pictures taken with him was, you know, that's what I'm embarrassed about? Do I have that guy I'm embarrassed about on my social media feed? No, they don't. But they have the guys that they look at as a point of validation. Their sexual experiences and men of their past become points of validation for them, because women, unfortunately, use dick for validation, just the way it is. And so when she meets you, though, and she's in the dating phase, she ain't even thinking about that social media phase. If you're blowing that stuff, if you're blowing her away, you know, so she's just enamored with you. And now she's not necessarily going back and cleaning it out, but she's not necessarily looking backwards either. So what you have to do is you have to say something like during the dating phase, like, hey, yeah, I don't keep photos of exes around. You know, I wouldn't get in a relationship of somebody who kept photos, or especially couples photos of guys she used to bang. It's just not, it sends the wrong message. To me, it sends a message that she still has a thing for that guy. And even if she doesn't, that guy thinks that that's the case. And I'm not going to be disrespected like that and give in a commitment. So I'd never commit to somebody who has that. I might say something like that, or I might say, well, you notice that I don't have pictures of my ex.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. So it's a very good compliance test to have her comply with your, it's not a demand, but it's a request, right?
Right. And if she is going to resist that, but those are my memories, that's one thing you'll hear. Really? Well, if you want to, and then you can just say, well, if I don't hold on to memories of chicks I used to smash, and I'm not going to be in a commitment with somebody that holds on to memories of guys that used to smash them. It's just the way it is. And you just say it like matter of fact, like, hey, there's no relationship here if you're holding on to this stuff. If she's unwilling to go backwards and delete that stuff, then that's a problem. Now, I mean, you know, you never want to, photos and like social media is weird. Like I've had it happen before too, where like, cause I do go backwards and I delete like chicks I used to be with, you know what I mean? Cause once it's done, it's done. And that's how I don't want to give her a message that she has a chance, you know? And so, I mean, it's just the way it is, right? And because they always want to do that. They always want to circle back around. My exes always call and circle back around like, hey, how's it going?
What you doing?
Right, exactly. And they want to know if they could still get the D from me. And if I'm with somebody, especially, that girls love that validation. They want me to do something or say something that would make them think they have something on my LTR. And I'm not going to give that to them. You know what I mean? No way. And so that's why I remove that stuff. But guess what? That's my value. That needs to be my chick's value too, right?
Yeah. And so there for a different reason.
Oh, right.
Remodel KC says using past photos as social proof, which is one of the reasons why they keep stuff there, right? Another type of selfie. Yeah, you can call it whatever you want, a selfie or a portrait photo, or it might even be something, you know, from an event, you know, where they're sitting down at the bar or you know, at a table together. But either way, the way that Paul framed it, I think, is a great way to go about it. And like women will compliance test men. They'll always do it. They do it to basically ensure that you're the best possible guy that they can get. You also need to issue compliance tests to women, and as Paul described there, this is a good example of one. If she either complies with your request or she doesn't, and you have to have a firm boundary around it. My view on it is, if you ask her to comply with something, it's comply or goodbye. It's as simple as that.
I'm still here. I don't know what's going on with my camera.
Stuff.
Yeah, why is my camera being weird? Can you hear me?
That's okay. We can hear you just fine.
That's
all right. So what's the next point while your camera's doing like the circle of death there right now?
I know. I'm so bad with technology, Rich. I need an assistant. I need to hire somebody. This is the worst.
Where's your woman? You should put her on a board, man.
I know,
Push
right?
Buttons, make it work.
Exactly. Just yell at her, scream at her. So yeah, it's, and you might find, so there's another thing I was going to say is you might find that she's she misses something, right? Because like photos get buried, especially on Facebook. There's different albums and stuff like that. And if you happen to catch something or something like that, you could just like go, man, you guys look adorable together. God, look at you two. You look cute. Yeah, I mean, honestly, you should see what he's up to. Give him a call. You know what I mean? They hate that because if they see you as her best, she's embarrassed now. She's like, no, like I'm not gonna level down my life and be with that guy again. And she'll like get rid of it pretty damn quick. But if she's holding on to it,
cheekiness always works. Hey, listen, I'm gonna pull you out from the live feed and put you back in and see what happens with that video. Hold on a second.
Yeah, that might be.
No, it's still the circle of death. Hold on. You know what? Kill your camera.
That's what I do. Yeah.
On the bottom bar, just go stop cam and see what happens.
Right. Yeah. Let's stop.
Can you guys hear Paul still in the chat? That's fine. You can just roll with that if you want.
Right.
You want to try to turn it back on and see if it fires up?
I'll keep doing this for a minute and play with it on my end. I think that I got. I think, yeah, that's what I'm gonna do.
All right, live shows.
There we go.
They're always good.
Yeah. There we go.
All right, so we talked about. There you go. You're back. Okay, so we talked about the feed with photography. Let me ask you this question because I've heard a couple of different views on this. I want to hear what your view is on. Chick, you suspect your chick's been alpha widowed. Maybe she's messaging, some dude from her past, or they've got some dialogue going there. Are you a fan of doing the phone check? What's your view on that for guys?
Man, I'm not really a fan of it, but I mean,
is there a way to go about doing it where you don't come off as a beta bitch and you can still hold frame?
I struggle with this one because I mean, she's going to, so for example, like my LTR wouldn't even have a thought of me ever going through her phone because I'm her best and I know it. And so why would I ever do that? Why would I care? Plus she's very careful about her boundaries with other guys. She does that because it's my standards. You know what I mean? And that's also her standards. She sees, she may not have always had those standards, but now that she's with me, those are the standards. So her phone is never like even password protected. If I wanted to go through her phone, I could go through her phone. You know what I mean? She doesn't care. She doesn't try to protect it. She doesn't try to hide it. She doesn't try to hide texts, hide communications. She will mention or say things when people contact her,
Okay, so let's rephrase it. Let's say that you're in a relationship with a chick that you suspect has been alpha widowed.
Right.
And there's possible communications. There's alerts going off. She's got her phone face down when she's with you. She runs off with her phone in different rooms. And you want to verify something here.
Yeah.
Is there a way that you can go about that?
Yeah. Come here. Have a seat.
We got John in the chat. He says, beta or not, I check her phone. I don't give AF. Data is data.
All right. So here's how I've done this before, though, in other situations when, if you remember, Rich, I really liked toxic women. I thought they were great. I don't know. It's for my stripper days when I was running stripper. I don't know what it was. I was just like, toxic women are great. And so I'd be in these situations with these toxic women and these sort of relationships, and I would have to like super alpha frame them and be a real a-hole to them, right? And so in situations where I've been tested like that, I've said, come here, have a seat, put your phone on the table, open it up. Let's go through it.
Mhm.
Just like that. I'm not going to sneak around. I'm going to tell her to open that phone right now. If I have a thought or a question, we're doing it, because and I tell her it's I'm not jealous and insecure, but your behavior is out of control and you're acting like you're doing something you shouldn't be doing. And so let's see what that is.
And if you're discovered that you're not her best, that she's talking to a guy from her past or maybe multiple guys from her past, how would you handle that?
So let's say she's having, conversations and flirting or whatever, with a guy. I'll just look at it and I'll say, well, hope it was worth it. Close the phone, and that's it. Relationship's over. You know what I mean? And now I'm walking away from it. Now, maybe there's a misunderstanding, because this is what I get from guys who want consultations with me and stuff. They are like, well, what if I misunderstood? What if it really wasn't like that? Or what if she wasn't? And so here's the thing. If that's true, what she's going to do is freak the hell out and try to get you back with a level of fury that you've never seen before. If you are mistaken and she's just doing the wrong thing and being stupid, and so having been with some toxic BPD type women, they do that. You're her best, but they have problems and attachment problems and so forth. And so they do certain things. Women cuck alphas too, by the way. When they cuck, so just as something to keep in mind, women cuck alphas not for the same reason though. Women cheat on alphas, but not for the same reason. They do it for revenge, and they do it because they're worried or angry or upset. But they're worried about being discarded by him. So when a woman has like a toxic thing and she's got extreme abandonment issues, like these BPD women, they'll keep guys around too, and even kind of let you find out about those guys to try to put a dread game on you, because they're worried about being abandoned by you. And they're even resentful or mad at you for it. It's not because they don't see you as her best. It's because quite the contrary. They see you as her best, and they're not convinced that they can keep you, and they're mad at you for that. And so I've seen these scenarios where women will cheat with a guy who's like a total beta tool bag dork on a guy who's like an extreme, almost too aggressive alpha. But they're doing that because the guy is such an a-hole, and she's mad at him, and she doesn't think she can keep this relationship together. And so it's a form of dread. She even lets that guy find out, and it's a whole thing, right?
You're so these are some advanced game here tonight now, Paul.
This is a bit advanced,
you're
right?
Start
yeah, I know. It's like, well,
let's just hit this super chat here from Lucas. He says, random question. What if a girl asks you not to meet your female friends for a coffee to match your 2-time standard boundary, no male friends? I'm not sure I follow that. Let me read that again.
Yeah.
What if a girl asks you not to meet your female friends for a coffee to match your 2x standard boundary, no male? I see what he's saying. So she says you're not allowed to meet female friends for coffee because you put a boundary around her not having male friends.
Yeah. So here's the thing about that. Actually, Lucas, we've had a few exchanges before, and I think that Lucas is maybe a little bit hypersensitive about the male friend thing. That's what I think, because there's
not just a girl, LTR to be exact. Yeah,
I get it. Okay, but look, and there's different takes on this. Here's my take. Women can be valuable social tools, if you will. Do you know what I mean? And so a woman has a lot of social circles, especially depending on what she does for a living. She can bring value into your life with her social circles. And some of the people in her social circles are going to be guys. Now, a lot of these guys are going to be like married guys with whatever, and she's friends with the wife, but there might be some male friends that are a part of that. But there's a clear difference between male acquaintances that are male orbiters that want to bang her, which is going to be most of them. There'll be some male friends that suspend the reality that they want to bang her, and they're able to actually sort of have a platonic friendship. In other words, they're not going to pursue something. There's somebody that you could trust to drive her home. You know what I mean? There's going to be a few of those, not going to be as many. But what's important is the boundaries she's setting with those guys. Now, if she's going on one-on-one coffee dates with dudes that want to bang her, well, that's a problem. Do you know what I mean? Are you going on one-on-one coffee dates with girls that want to bang you? Well, then I think you need to change the frame in your relationship. Why not bring her along, your girlfriend? Why not have this girl bang you and your girlfriend? There's all kinds of answers. You know what I mean? Don't get caught in the little box, man. You know what I'm saying? Open this thing up, right? And so you can have whatever you want. You just got to set the frame appropriately. But there is no fairness. And that's the thing.
Yeah, there is no fairness or equality in relationships. I just wanted to touch on that because there's a lot of dudes that are like, well, you know, she calls me controlling if I don't let her hang out with her male friends. It's like, dude, you don't have a girlfriend that is into you if she's hanging out with other male dudes. Women that are in an LTR that are into you, other guys are pretty much invisible to them. Like it's very, very difficult for
or their
women that are,
girlfriends.
you know, so they're either gay dudes or they're like, you know, her girlfriends that she's hanging out with. But if she's hanging out with dudes on a regular basis, you know, guys that like women with boyfriends don't hang out with other dudes. It's just as simple as that. It's not like a shit test or you got to freak out or you got to point and sputter. It's just compliance. It's like, you know, comply with this. This is my rule. If you don't like it, pound sand, get lost. Right.
Yeah.
Women have to know that they are replaceable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, I don't know the reasoning for you hanging out with this chick. You know what I mean? That's probably a thing. Like, why are you buddies with this chick? Like,
well, dudes only hang out with chicks if they want to.
Exactly.
They want to bang them, right?
Right. And so, do you want to bang this chick? Well, then,
of course.
Then go bang her. And tell your LTR that you bang
Look at him.
women.
He's a dude. Like Lucas is a Giga Chad in the making.
I know.
Check him
just
out.
Show,
right?
Just show your girlfriend picture of your abs and say, "I'm gonna bang her," and you're just gonna look at this picture and be happy that I bang you too.
Straight up. Let's keep moving along. Alpha Widows. What other stuff do we got to hit on before we wrap this one up?
Yeah. So we'll talk about
because they are bad news bears, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we'll talk about the the retroactive or the cucking or the fantasizing about other men of her past, right? So we know that guys and women tend to understand obviously the boundary of, well, I'm not going to have inappropriate relationships with new guys. I'm not going to do cheating behaviors or cheat with a new person, right? Well, when they question whether you're her best or not, what they have as a point of reference is the men from her past. The new guys are possibilities, right? But she never had sex with those guys. So she doesn't actually know that they're better or not. And she doesn't know even if she can get those guys necessarily. I mean, probably she can if she's hot, but right, she doesn't really know what that's going to turn out like. She knows what it turned out like with dudes she's already banged. So for her to look backwards is pretty normal. And I'll tell you, I mean, I've had women who I've been with and seen or whatever who have told me, that they keep an album of photos of me, that they think of, they've thought of me when they're having sex with their current partner so that they can orgasm, like all kinds of stuff. Like, why are you telling me this? Right. And so it's when you're on the other side of it, it's interesting. And you certainly don't want to be on the side that guy is on. 60%, and I'll pull some resources out and put them in the comments later on tonight or tomorrow morning for the video. But it was something, there's one study that was done, and there's not a lot of studies done on this because it's not a popular thing for people who want to study, but something like 60% of women have thought of another guy while they're having sex with a different partner. So this is something that guys tend to not do this, but women do this. They do hang on and harbor these other relationships, and they pretend like they're not. They're very deceptive about it. And so if she's unwilling to get rid of those old photos, if she's has old albums and stuff, I mean, bottom line is this: she cannot move forward with you if she's not willing to let go of that stuff. She needs to see you.
And that stuff can be digital photos. I mean, Paul could be the new boyfriend in the equation, and he goes into her walk-in closet and sees a shoebox with a marker on it that says "I Heart Richard" on it, with movie tickets and all kinds of shit inside it. Right? You're going to be like, okay, this is going in the garbage, bitch. Like, we're throwing this out. Okay.
Yep.
Right. You have to keep an eye out for it.
And she'll keep this stuff right. She'll keep this stuff around because it's something she's done. It's something she's used to. But at some point, she has to make a choice. My past, to let it die, and that's no longer a point of validation, and or not, or nothing, right? She's either looking at you You're her new point of validation. When you're her alpha dude, she's proud to tell other people about you. She's proud to introduce you. She shows you off. She shows pictures of you. She posts stuff about you on social media. You know what I mean? These are the behaviors you're looking for. And so she'll have no problem letting go of these things of the past. You're her new point of validation. But if she's not willing to do that, now you have a problem. You really need to consider keeping a relationship with that person. I wouldn't do it.
Got a super here from Jerry. What's up, brother? He
Jerry.
says, I have been on both sides of the alpha widow dynamic. Thanks for articulating so well. So I know where I stand. Take no prisoners. Absolutely. So remodel case says, if I see a pic of you on my girl's phone, Paul. Casey's coming after you, man.
I've been around. I don't know.
Okay, so this is a really, really important lesson, guys. We're at the 50-minute mark, so I want to wrap this up, in an hour. So This is a very, very important lesson. If you discover that the woman that you're with has been alpha widowed by a dude or several dudes from her past, that she's still holding on to it, you do not complicate your life in any way whatsoever and try to justify why you're staying with her. You set a firm boundary around it. If it's clear that you're not her best, you are going to have problems later on down the road. And guys, in case you haven't noticed, if you're new to the channel and this is the first video that you've watched, guys don't get treated particularly well if they're going through the divorce machine. Women are incented to behave quite poorly. And, still 7 or 8 times out of 10, even though women are initiating the divorces, they're also getting custody of the kids. So it's incredibly important that if you're going to get involved with women on a long-term basis, and if you're going to do something stupid like get married, okay, you're basically handing her the keys to everything. And if she's not looking at you as her best, you're going to run into problems down the road. I guarantee it. Guarantee it.
Yep, and stave off the commitment. That's the thing. Some of these guys jump into commitments within the first 3 months. Don't do that.
The first girl that says, "Oh, I love you, Paul."
Oh, that's right. You
want 8 of them saying that. You want to spin plates for 6-12 months and have 8 of them say that and fight for you.
That's exactly right. And that's back to that cream rising to the top. Because here's the thing too, and this is really important for a lot of guys listening, that not everybody is going to show up and demonstrate high sexual market value right away. They're just not there genetically yet, or they're just not there yet, right? And that's okay. That doesn't mean a girl can't see you as her best, but it may take some time, right? And having really good experiences with her. That happens during the plate spinning phase. So, maybe she's just still hung up on a boyfriend. She's trying to get in the dating market. She meets you on Tinder, whatever it is, and she goes on a date with you. It's okay. Maybe even she bangs you or whatever. And, she's sort of looking at other dudes, figuring her life out. All right, she's just a plate at that point. You're spinning several others. But maybe throughout the course of seeing you, maybe a couple times a month, things start changing. The ex-boyfriend is less attractive to her. She starts to see you as more attractive. She starts having really good experiences with you. She starts to really get to know you and having good sexual experiences with you. And her mind starts to get blown a little bit by you. And maybe in a couple months, she's now completely pining for you. And she's doing all those behaviors that Rich here mentioned in the beginning, demonstrating that genuine burning desire maybe that she didn't demonstrate on the first date. But the point is, it's not about what's demonstrated day one, but it's about where you're at before entering any sort of commitment. You don't enter that commitment until you're there. And this is why game is so important. This is why I teach, coach it. John MLD does courses on it. Rich, you talk about it too. Being able to game women, which means when I say game, I mean communicate both overtly and through subcommunication, seduction to her hindbrain. That's going to give her those experiences and those good emotions, that emotional draw, that sexual experience, and then have her see you as that apex alpha. And it may not be like, example, well, let's say you're a guy who's listening who's 5'3" right now, and so maybe she doesn't see you as the better than her 6 foot tall boyfriend that was in her past. Who cares? One of my ranger buddies was like 5'4", and he slayed with women. Did they notice him on the first date? No, but his behavior was so alpha and he handled them so well that over the course of several interactions, these chicks are pining for him. You know what I mean? And so the point is, get good at game, and it's where you end up, not necessarily where you start, but you don't enter that LTR unless she is demonstrating that you're her sexual best, and that she is able and capable of being in your frame and capable of pair bonding. Those two things need to be there, or else there's no commitment.
And just to add to that, like if you're dating, you're spinning plates for 5-6 months, and then it's not clear that she has genuine burning desire. Again, like genuine burning desire on a scale of 1 to 10 is a 9 or a 10. Okay. In the desire scope of things, 7 or 8 is indifferent. Indifference is they like you, but they don't really like you. And 6 and lower is basically a detractor. You could be on fire and they could have a cup of water in their hand. They would drink it and walk away. They just would not care. Okay. If you're dating for the first, 5-6 months, you're spinning plates, and this is the chick that you like, but she's moving into the indifferent category, get rid of her. Dump her. Tell her to get lost. Tell her to pound sand. You don't seem that interested or that into me, and you kind of move on. You call another girl over that night. If her level of interest changes and moves back into genuine burning desire again, and you want to allow her back in, let her qualify for it, right? You can always see these things change over time. They're fluid. Let me hit the super chat from First Facts, Hong Kong 15. That's Hong Kong dollars, right? HK?
Sounds good to me.
All right, we'll go with Hong Kong dollars. There's only one way: own and control her 100%. It's hard to disagree with that, guys. We've been told our entire lives as men to, men and women are equal and become less so she can become more, and bend the knee for my lady and all that sort of stuff. And it's like, you know what? At the end of the day, women want to be owned. They want to have boundaries. They want to be led. They don't want to be leaders. Women hate being leaders. All of these chicks today that are soaking up and drinking all that Kool-Aid that they're getting drunk on about, whatever feminist narrative tells them to lead men, or that they're a step ahead of men, or that they're better than men. You got to get rid of these women. These women are losers. You don't want to allow them in your life. You don't want to, you certainly don't want to allow them into your inner perimeter. You can spin them as a plate, keep them at a distance, kind of like, test them out, see what they're all about. Test them out, see what they're all about.
Yeah, that's
start rapping
very,
time,
man. Wow.
But seriously, guys, don't settle for mediocrity, right? Far too many guys settle for mediocre relationships, for women, for friendships, for business partnerships. They let mediocrity in their life, and they wonder 3, 4, 5 years down the road why their life sucks and why they made a train wreck out of it. You actually knew walking into it. Your spidey senses were tingling, telling you, "You sure you want to wife up this chick? She's got pictures all over her Instagram feed of Giga Chad Paul over here, and this guy Paul from Apex Mindset keeps showing up in her feed, and I don't understand why. And she's got all these DMs with this guy, but she wants me to buy a house in this wedding dress, and it's like, guys, use your brain, man. Think."
Yeah. Well, and there's a good story to close with that I think Rollo has talked about a lot, which is that story where the guy's married and he goes through some old things and he finds the old VHS, video tape where she is doing those homemade pornos with 2 guys at the same time. And what the guy had said, his comment was, he wasn't so disturbed that she had done that or how she was, but he was upset, and rightfully so, that she never was that way with him. And so that is what happens when a woman settles, and you're not her sexual best. She will never give you her best self sexually. She has already given that to somebody else.
I've seen this story a few times. I think the way that they phrased it was that he married a prude that used to be a whore in college.
Yeah.
Right. And he wanted to have the whore in his bed, but he ended up with the prude. Right.
Well, and the reason why is because he is not somebody that is stimulating her to be the whore. Every girl that's with me is a whore, period. Okay. Not because I'm not degrading them by saying that. That's what they want to be. Right. That's how you have to know and how to treat them in a way that they want to be treated in the bedroom. And then they turn into that for you. And for themselves. It's what they want. It's sexually freeing for them. And so if she's not your whore in the bedroom, she was somebody else's whore. You know what I mean? And it's not worth it, because here's the thing, she will always resent you. That honeymoon phase will wear off, and she will be upset that you're not that other person. That's where it'll be. And this is why women they become asexual. I mean, not even including the 50% that cheat. There's the other half that don't cheat, but they become asexual, very transactional intersexual relationships, bitchy, ungrateful, demanding. Here's your honeydew list. They become terrible to live with. And I've had women, tell me like, gosh, I get so angry and irritated with him, and I know I'm being a terrible person to him, and I feel bad later, but they do it anyway because they resent cashing that part of themselves in. They gave their sexual selves up, and they compromised that for a family, and they're resentful for it. They'll do
That's
it.
another episode. That's the betatization by 1,000 concessions talk.
Right. And that's what they do, that when they've been alpha widowed. They do that when they don't see you as her best. And if you're not the best she's ever experienced. Now, even if you're the best she's ever experienced, she
will still try to turn you into a plow horse, though.
She can, if you're not keeping her in that frame, and she starts to lose and starts to question. Right. Yep. Absolutely. But if you started off as her best, though, in the beginning, you can get back there. If you don't start there, there's not much of a hope for you. Like 5 years down the line, you're not going to all of a sudden show up and be your Giga Chad when you never were to begin with. You know what I mean?
LTRs are work, gentlemen. Don't think that they're easy peasy lemon squeezy. It's actually easier to spin plates, believe it or not. And, you get a lot more variety. There's a different set of problems that come with it, but anyway, so on that note, let's wrap up this before the train wreck. We went for a good hour on this. Lots of solid information. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Smash the like button. Do leave us a comment below. And I think, Paul, you said you're going to add some links or some stuff to the comment box.
Yeah. I got to go through and organize some of my references. So just pay attention in the comments within the next, we'll say 12 hours. I'll post a bunch for guys who like references. I talk about a lot of stuff, and I do a lot of research and reading, but I don't always reference my stuff because most people don't care. But there's some people that do. So I'll put some of those articles in there for you guys.
Let me grab your YouTube channel and drop it in the chat. You guys need to follow Paul. His channel is called Apex Mindset. If you're watching live, it's in the live chat. If you're watching the recording, just search on YouTube for Apex space Mindset. Mindset is all one word. You'll find him there. I think that's it. Just real quick, I got to shout out to the channel sponsor before I go. So I'll go full screen just over my shoulder over here. I got the full suite of the Grondike Soap Company's products, pheromone infused handmade soaps, beard oils, refresher sticks. These are the new things to their lineup. These are the refresher sticks. You use them when you leave the gym, although the stupid gyms are closed again. Throw them on your wrist and your beard if you need to get a little touch up. But yeah, check out these products over here. It's at Cooper Soap. Let me grab the banner. There it is. Cooper Soap. No, that's a ticker. That's the one I wanted. Boom. Okay. CooperSoap.com. It's also pinned in the top comment below. You check out with coupon code Cooper, you get 10% off. I think it's already actually applied to this URL over here, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, that is it. Back next Monday for another Before the Train Wreck. I got a bunch of releases this week I got to pump out in the feed. If you haven't checked out my new channel, newish channel, I have a channel called Rich Cooper Clips where I take a lot of these longer formats and I slice them into clips and put them all there. They're a lot more consumable, like usually about 5 minutes or less. And I have one final announcement. I have another YouTube channel, which I've uploaded videos to all this summer, which I have not released any on. So let's see if this works out, because I'm not even sure if I'm going to keep uploading to this channel, but I decided to do this. This is my Dad Hammer channel. So let me grab the link here. The Dad Hammer.
I'm gonna kill with this channel.
I don't know. We'll see what happens. Oh, you know what? I didn't even put it in the description here. So I got to go switch account. Dad Hammer. There it is. All right. So if you search for it, I don't think it's even findable. So it shows no videos on the channel right now, but here, I'll drop it in the live chat. So go subscribe to it. There's 12 subscribers right now. Dad Hammer. It says in the banner, A Man's Guide to Red Flags in Life. I don't know if I'm going to change that, but I've got about 5 videos on that, which is just basic stuff, like basic skills that guys need to know as a man. Like, how do you store your lawnmower for the winter and put stabilizer in the fuel tank and fog the combustion chamber? Basic shit that a lot of guys aren't learning from fathers, because 43% of men are growing up in single parent households, which means they don't have a father around for the most part. So I've put a new channel together. Well, a new channel earlier this year. Again, it's called Dad Hammer. Click the link. Let's see how many subs we can get this up to, and then I'll start to release the videos this week. I got about 5 there. There's nothing released right now, but I will start to release the videos on the channel this week. All right, I'll leave it at that. Thanks for watching, guys. Paul, appreciate you, brother.
Thank you, bro.
We got the 1% thing after this on the investing talk, so if you're around, we'll check that out. We'll see you guys later.